Well, it has been second time unlucky for ZPM leader Lalduhoma. First, he was disqualified as the Lok Sabha MP back in 1988 under the Anti-Defection law. And this time, he has created history by emerging as the first member of the Mizoram Legislative Assembly to have been disqualified by the Speaker under the same Anti-Defection law on Friday. Well, the charge against Lalduhoma is that he contested and won as an independent candidate before his party, the ZPM, was registered by the Election Commission and later functioned in the House as a ZPM member. Speaking exclusively to Northeast Live on the matter, Lalduhoma yet again took a dig at the MNF and said that there have been similar cases in the past when candidates contested elections as independents despite being affiliated to the MNF. The ZPM leader further reiterated that the decision to disqualify him cannot be justified and that it was purely a political vendetta.
Political parties which are not yet registered contested an election technically as independents, but there has never been petition against them. Even MNF, when they returned from the underground and when they faced an election after becoming Mizoram state, they contested as independents. They won 24 seats. All were independent MLAs. Mr. Lalduhoma was an independent MLA. But at the same time, he was the president of MNF. Nobody questioned about that. We have done the same thing as they did. Now they are submitting a petition against me. This is not very fair. It is a political vendetta. It is purely a political vendetta. They want to remove me from the House of the Assembly. That's all.
And further referring to the case as a rare event, Lalduhoma stated that the ZPM is considering two options at the moment: to take up the matter to the court or trust the mandate of the people in the by-elections that would follow. He said here that while the party is being optimistic of a win at the court, it may take years for the verdict to be out. As such, the solution at hand for the ZPM is to go to the People's Court and thereby contest the by-elections. However, Lalduhoma also maintained here that the final decision would be taken in a couple of days.
We have two options, either to the court or to the People's Court. Both are very interesting. You see, this kind of case has never been experienced in this country. So, either to the court or to the People's Court is our option. And being a very rare case, the only case in the country in which there has never been any precedent so far, it is going to be very interesting, and the judgment is also going to be a landmark judgment. So it's quite interesting, and we are quite optimistic in winning in the court. But at the same time, as you know, court procedure is very, very lengthy. It may take years together, but nobody knows. The easiest way and the quickest way of being returned to the assembly is to go to the People's Court and contest in the by-election.
And exuding confidence on winning the mandate of the people, Lalduhoma stated that even though the MNF was financially a stronger party, he believes that voters would sympathize with him. He further said that the people in general were against the MNF and that the disqualification was nothing but a blessing in disguise. Not only this, Lalduhoma informed that the party is eyeing a win in the state assembly elections in 2023.
We are quite confident. We are quite confident, and we hope that we are still enjoying the same status. That means we will be getting the same votes. People generally are against MNF, as you know. It is this case is going to be a blessing in disguise for us. A lot of sympathy is pouring on and pouring on every day. By-election is just by-election, as we all know. It's just not really that matters. our real aim is the next election, general election, which is coming on 2023. And we are gaining day by day because of this act of the MNF initiated by the Chief Minister, which is not supported by their own party also. People are sympathizing us. This is a big blunder for them.
And meanwhile, reacting to the ZPM leader Lalduhoma's statements, a well-known analyst and commentator, Professor J. Dongle, speaking exclusively to Northeast Live, said that Lalduhoma's disqualification from the Mizoram Legislative Assembly was done based on his party activities outside the Legislative Assembly. Listen in.
The present crisis is now that the Zo People's Movement Legislature Party leader, Pu Lalduhoma, has involved in party activities outside the Legislative Assembly. That's why it is not mainly due to the legislative activities or inside but it is outside. But with regard to this anti-defection law, whether 52nd Amendment or 91st Amendment, has given authority to the Speaker. Speaker of the Lok Sabha or Speaker of the Vidhan Sabha to enforce the disqualification, and in this regard, final interpreter or final authority with regard to this enforcement of anti-defection law as per the 52nd and 91st Amendment also, that lies with the Speaker.
On the ZPM leader's statement that the decision to disqualify him was motivated by political vendetta, Dongle said that the role of the Speaker has always been politicized and only a constitutional amendment can resolve the issue.
Out here in India, as I've said, as speakers are also member of party, their role has been politicized, and even if some speaker may interpret it as part of the constitution, but there are others who politicize the issue. And as I've said, with regard to this, amendment of 91st Amendment itself is required to include a provision that whoever holds this responsibility of speaker, that should be non-party and non-party man, in order that the role of this speakership will be properly enforced and the role of speaker can be properly performed. So not only in the case of Mizoram, even in other states and even in parliament also, this has always been politicized.
And terming Lalduhoma's disqualification a critical political crisis, Professor Dongle called for mature handling of the entire situation by all parties involved.
A critical political crisis, and instead of politicizing and instead of intensifying with more problem, let it be solved maturely by looking the constitutional provision into account, and let good precedents be set